Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. Authorities now want gun licenses of Bato de la Rosa revoked. The senator on the run is presumed to be armed and dangerous, something his allies flatly rebuke.
Minority senators cry foul over a video played in plenary by the presidential sister, which tagged them in moves to push for charter change.
And rescuers are racing against time to save over a dozen people still trapped under a collapsed building in Pampanga.
Assumption namin lagi is armado yan. Kasi nga galing siya sa law enforcement, so he knows kung paano siya itatrack or hahanapin.
Authorities have intensified their hunt for Senator Ronald De La Rosa, who is now tagged as an armed and dangerous fugitive. As his lawyers continue to exhaust all legal means to block an ICC arrest, no less than Bato's wife made an appeal to the Supreme Court. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos with tonight's Big Story.
Grace Nancy De La Rosa, the wife of Senator Bato, has made an appeal to the judiciary, and that is to keep her husband senator in the country and have him face a local court instead of allowing him to be flown to The Hague. Mrs. De La Rosa implored the High Tribunal on social media. There, she said that permitting the surrender of another Filipino citizen to the International Criminal Court after former President Rodrigo Duterte would be tantamount to admitting to an incapability to handle Bato's case. Nancy called on SC justices to make a quick and conclusive decision regarding De La Rosa's arrest warrant issued by the ICC, and even compared the situation of her husband to that of their Tatay Digong. She said lessons should be learned from what she called the Duterte case. She asserted that unlike these days, when Filipinos are being forcibly turned over overseas, Duterte, while president, had gone to great lengths to bring all Filipinos overseas home, including convicts. On May 21, the Supreme Court refused to issue a temporary restraining order or TRO as requested in Senator De La Rosa's petition seeking to bar the enforcement of the ICC arrest against him. Legal minds have interpreted this as implied recognition by the High Court of the International Tribunal document's validity. A day after the SC's ruling, the Marcos government ordered law enforcement to proceed with the implementation of the ICC warrant. Until now, the Philippine National Police and the National Bureau of Investigation are still pursuing the senator, since he went into hiding again after May 14. Senator Bato briefly showed up at the Senate on May 11 to cast his vote for the presidency of Alan Peter Cayetano in the Senate. On May 13, the Senate shooting incident happened. As authorities try to locate De La Rosa, NBI Chief Melvin Matibag now considers Bato to be, quote, armed and dangerous under existing NBI protocols. The former Duterte PNP chief is also now considered by the authorities as fugitive from justice.
Ang presumption namin lagi is armado yan. It's one of the major concern kasi nga galing siya sa law enforcement, so he knows how the law enforcement officers behave, kung paano siya itatrack or hahanapin.
De La Rosa's lawyer Israelito Torion clapped back at Matibag's assumption, saying there is no basis to consider his client a threat.
Before a person can be declared a fugitive from justice, number one requirement is that there is a Philippine court warrant of arrest or there is a court conviction, Philippine court. The fact that this is an internal court, this is a case of first impression. So therefore, the concept of fugitive from justice does not apply.
On Monday, May 25, Matibag said the NBI is planning to write a formal letter to the PNP to cancel the licenses for firearms registered to De La Rosa. Matibag said, based on their investigation, the ICC wanted senator owned several firearms, all with address in Davao. Speaking of Davao, City Mayor Sebastian Duterte had this to say about his father's former PNP chief.
Yung ngayon na nangyari sa Senate, nagputukan. Gusto na naman nila kunin si Bato, ipadala doon sa ICC. Nalungkot ako At the same time, medyo masaya rin kasi may kasama na yung tatay ko doon, di never katilaban. Yeah, it's a bad joke. It's a bad joke. But, you know, nga na, gano'n, kaya itong administrasyon na to, it's not in its right mind. Adik talaga.
Meantime, the mayor's for good governance slammed De La Rosa's 7-month absence from the Senate while still allegedly receiving his salary. De La Rosa had been skipping sessions since November 2025 before appearing for a day or two this May at the upper chamber. And for Gigi compared De La Rosa to most Filipino workers who are under a no-work, no-pay rule. Only if an ordinary employee went absent for weeks or months, he would already be suspended or even terminated. The group urged lawmakers to uphold integrity and prevent the Senate from becoming a safe haven for absenteeism and cover-ups. Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte, and Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto led 58 mayors in backing the statement up. Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
Meantime, the Supreme Court has released its resolution making official the junking of Senator Bato de la Rosa's petition. He had earlier asked for a temporary restraining order on his ICC arrest warrant. Upon studying both arguments from the petitioner and the Office of the Solicitor General, the High Court ruled that De La Rosa's camp had not been able to identify his particular right, threatened, and needing protection. The Supreme Court also said that at this point, the senator's claim that he will be arrested is still speculation. For one, he was under Senate protective custody, so the warrant was not served. And second, President Bongbong Marcos had already said that he had not ordered De La Rosa's arrest. Because of this, the SC declared De La Rosa's request for a status quo ante order to be lacking in merit.
Now let's get some updates and clarity on the hunt for Senator Bato de la Rosa. And joining us tonight is Colonel Allen Ray Ko. Colonel Ko is the new chief of the PNP Public Information Office. Good evening, Colonel, and welcome to the Big Story.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening po sa inyo lahat.
Based on your records, how many arms does the senator hold?
Ma'am, that is privileged information, but I can assure you na meron pong mga registered firearms talaga kay Senator Bato. And as to the license po niya, the board under the CSG, yung pong firearms license revocation and restoration board, ay already convening to look into yung of the revocation po ng license niya.
Okay, if you can't give us the number, is it correct that there are over 100 that are licensed?
I actually do not have that data, ma'am, right now.
All right.
We would have to consult with the FEO, who has the actual records of the firearms.
All right, but is it correct also that these firearms, some of the firearms were issued and licensed while he was missing or absent from the Senate?
I do not have information on that, ma'am. I would have to consult with the FEO. I also heard about that, shall I call it a rumor, na meron pa pong in-issue during the time that he was absent in the Senate. I would have to confirm with the...
Okay, Colonel, there is a
Sana
document...
po maging mas candid po kayo because this is of public interest. When can
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have
Yes, ma'am.
that information?
I would try to get in touch with the ma'am, siguro by tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I will be holding a press briefing tomorrow at around 1 p.m.
Sorry, Sean, you were
So-
about to mention that
There is a document going around. It's not just reports kasi, no, Colonel. So I assume you're going to verify that document that's been going around on social media and report
Yes, of
back
course,
to the
ma'am.
public tomorrow.
I haven't seen it yet. Personally, I haven't seen it yet. But I've heard about this document that's going around. And I had one of my staff get a copy, trying to get a hold of a copy or a picture of the document. And we will, of course, verify.
Well, the NBI is about to send a letter to the PNP to act on this, but you're saying that you are already, the board is already looking at these records, and will these licenses be revoked?
Yes, ma'am. Under Section 39 of the revised IRR 2018 of RA 10591, yung law po natin that regarding firearms, there are certain conditions that has to be met for the automatic and immediate revocation of licenses. And
what
the board,
conditions?
I mentioned, yes, ma'am,
What
will be the one to
conditions?
convene.
May we know the conditions?
Yes, ma'am, it's under Section 39.
Okay. Is the PNP intent on this task of going after a former PNP chief?
Yes, ma'am. We are mandated to do our duty, and the Chief PNP has already issued his guidance and his instructions for all PNP units to actively look for and apprehend Senator De La Rosa when found.
But at this point, Colonel, do you have any verified information or actionable leads on the actual whereabouts of Senator Bato?
Yan po ang ano natin, as this matter involves an active and ongoing law enforcement operation, any premature disclosure of information may compromise the integrity of the proceedings and the safety of all parties involved.
But
So we do not actually comment on ongoing and active operations, ma'am.
But can you at least confirm, sir, if meron po kayong leads sa kanyang location?
Again, ma'am, that will compromise to yung ongoing operations natin.
Alright.
Okay. With
Suffice it to
regard,
say na, yes, ma'am.
go ahead, sir. Finish it. Suffice it to say,
Yes,
you were
ma'am.
saying?
Suffice it to say that according to all our information, he's still in the country, ma'am.
Okay. I also want to know what happens once you revoke the licenses because syempre nasa kanya na po yung mga armas, di ba? Or somebody, anybody, okay, not just Senator Bato. Once you revoke the licenses, I mean, that's just paperwork, but the guns remain in the possession of whoever has them, correct?
That's exactly, ma'am, exactly. It's sort of ministerial and kumbaga, ma'am, ang mangyayari lang is immediately you could be apprehended for possessing said firearms since it's already been declared as unlicensed, and you are mandated to surrender yung said firearms. That's the only thing. But physically, does not affect the firearms, of course. It can still be fired, it can still be used.
If it is proven that the firearms, some of the firearms were licensed during a period when he was in hiding, will there be an investigation into how he was able to get these permits?
Of course, ma'am, of course, of course. An investigation will be conducted, and if found to some firearms were still issued to him during, let's say, the pendency of yung arrest niya and when he was missing, I'm sure that proper legal proceedings will be conducted.
Colonel, you
Yes, ma'am.
mentioned that you will be holding a press conference tomorrow, so we hope there'll be more information by then. Anong oras po yung inyong press conference?
1 p.m. po, ma'am. 1 p.m. Press briefing actually in our office.
All right. Thank you so much, PNP PIO Chief Colonel Allen Reyco.
And now in other news, it was cause out in today's Senate session as minority senators slammed Senator Amy Marcos. In a privileged speech, Senator Amy spoke of supposed discussions involving minority senators over charter change, possible term extensions, and even no election scenarios. This even led to a senator asking the video played by Marcos during her speech to be stricken out of the Senate's records. We have mobile journalist Merimon Reyes to tell us more about this. Merimon, what transpired exactly over at the Senate this afternoon?
Pauline, ladies, good evening. instead of the much-awaited interpellation of senators regarding the manifestation and privileged speech of some minority members last week regarding their calls for an in-depth and independent and a more factual investigation regarding the shootout incident here at the Senate weeks ago, what happened earlier at the session was a privileged speech from Senator Amy Marcos and other senators. That's for another story. But the privileged speech of Senator Amy Marcos tackled claims that there were supposed conversations or agreements among minority senators, Senator Tito Soto, with House Speaker Boji D regarding charter changes, amendments to the Constitution, and talks on term extensions for President Bongbong Marcos and plans of blocking elections for 2028. May usapan pa nga doon na sinasabing meron daw na pag-uusapan na itataas daw yung age requirement to supposedly disqualify VP Sara for her presidential bid in 2028. While over the weekend, si Senator Tito Soto mismo, dinedebunk niya na ito at sinasabi niya walang ganong agreements. There were friendly banters with Speaker D pero walang agreements daw whatsoever regarding Chacha nor plans and hindi raw alam ng even ng ibang mga senador yung tungkol doon and matibay pang pinaglalaban ni Senator Tito na since time immemorial against Chacha talaga itong senador. Meron pa nga daw ibang usapan lang regarding regional representation in the Senate pero wala namang sinabing okay yon. And kung magkakaroon pa nga raw ng amendments, mas maganda pa nga raw kung pababain yung edad para sa mga tatakbo o manunungkulan bilang presidente and senador. Yun nga lang, still kanina sa session na ipinagpatuloy ng senadora itong kanyang privilege speech with a supporting video, supposedly narrating pa kung ano yung nilalaman ng kanyang claims. Let's watch into parts of this session and the privilege speech of Senator Amy Marcos earlier.
Pero magagaling ang mga buwaya, tahimik na gumagapang upang malamon pati ang konstitusyon. Kung nagsisinungaling ang mga nagsumbong sa akin, kung sasabihin kasinungalingan ang sinabi ko ngayon at ang pinalabas, hinihikayat ko ang mga senador ngayon sa ating bulwagan. Ipangako natin sa taong bayan na may eleksyon sa 2028 mula sa presidential hanggang sa lokal.
Well, Berrimon, it seems minority senators really took offense over that video of Senator Amy Marcos. Sumagot nga sila Senators Mig Zubiri and Tito Sen even asking for this video to be stricken off the record. Tell us more about that.
Yes, Pauline. While hindi nagkaroon ng interpellation after ng privileged speech of Senator Amy Marcos, minority senators with Senator Mig Zubiri first in line took to the floor yung kanyang motion to strike it out of the official records of the Senate. They also called this as propaganda. Ang nasabi pa nga ni Senator Mig Zubiri, kung may galit daw, magalit sa gobyerno, magalit daw sa kapatid ni Senatora Amy, pero wag daw idama yung walang kinalaman dito sa mga claim na ito. Also, backed up din ito by Senator Risa Hontiveros, sinasabing fake news yung video and propaganda. And her track record says they are also against Chacha. Matagal din daw nila ipinaglalaban yan. Senator Raffy Tulfo also calls the video as how siya. Ngayon lang daw siya nakakita ng ganitong video presentation. And basing sa experience niya raw sa media for several years, pagka may ganyan daw na expose, yung supporting documentations ay factual, mabigat, pinapakita talaga kung ano yung supportang kinakailangan doon sa claim. Hindi raw yung ganyan na kung ano-ano lang yung napagtagpi-tagpi. And other senators, for example, sina Senator Bam Aquino, even Senator Pring Lacson, they also backed up the motion to strike it off the records. And let's listen in to parts again of this session earlier.
I really take offense. I take exception to what was presented. But I don't care about what the other mention or the other things that were mentioned. But as far as the issue of my involvement in Chacha is concerned, I vehemently deny. Definitely, I have nothing to do with that. And I second the motion of Senator Zubiri that the editorial video should be stricken off the record.
May panindigan po kami lahat dito, Madam President. So therefore, you can see my passion on this. I move to strike the horrible propaganda video.
All right, so Berrimon, tell us what happened after. How did the senators settle this issue? Was the video eventually stricken off the Senate's records?
Actually, Pauline, after the minority senators expressed their sentiment regarding the quote-unquote propaganda or editorial video, some members from the majority, Senator Robin Padilla and even Senator Rodante Marcoleta, nilabanan pa nila, ayaw nilang matanggal sa records. Pero ang sinabi na lang, bahala na raw ang mamamayan na nakapanood na tignan at i-process kung ano yung napanood nila. Pero later on, nag-heed din naman itong si Senator Amy Marcos sa call din ni Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano to withdraw her video from the official records of the Senate. Ang sabi nga lang dito ni Senator Amy, basta raw ipangako na walang tsa-tsa, na walang term, na walang term extension na pinag-uusapan at ipangako rin daw na may eleksyon come the year of 2028. Pauline.
All right, and Mayorman, on other matters, Senator Rodante Marcoleta also gave a privileged speech on the plunder and bribery charges he is currently facing at the Ombudsman. What did he have to say?
Yan yung sinasabi natin na on another note, si Senator Dante Marcoleta rin nagsalita din through his privilege capacity. Ito yung privilege speech niya. At ang sinasabi niya, ito raw ay pang-pressure sa kanya pero hindi raw siya matitinag nito. Wala raw basis itong recommended charges of indirect bribery and plunder sa kanya. Kung nakikita rin daw, wala namang hindi rin daw masama o ipinagbabawal ng batas yung pakikipagkaibigan. Puwera na lamang daw kung meron itong kapalit na pagbebenta ng serbisyo o tungkulin niya bilang senador. Kaya kanina sinasabi ni Senator Marcoleta, ano raw ang pinagbenta niya kapalit nga nung kiniklaim na yung 75 million pesos worth ng campaign donation from former Congressman Mike Defensor and two businessmen na kine-question ng Office of the Ombudsman dahil nga doon sa criminal complaint laban sa kanya. Pero ang sabi ni Senator Marcoleta, handa raw siyang mag-undergo no proseso at handa raw siyang patunayan na wala raw itong basihan, wala raw ebidensyang may papakita para maipunto nga yung kiniklaim na ito ay pagpapakita ng korupsyon. While earlier lang, just about an hour ago, even ang Office of the Ombudsman nag-ask na ito sa Sandigan Bayan ng pag-i-issue ng Precautionary Hold Departure Order or PHDO against Senator Dante Marcoleta, former Congressman Mike Defensor, and yung businessman nga na si Joseph Espiritu and Aristotel Viray. Itong tatlo kasi, on three separate occasions, January of 2025, nakatanggap ng hindi bababa sa 20 million pesos per tao itong si Senator Marcoleta, and dun nabuo yung 75 million pesos worth of campaign donations. We're yet to hear a comment from his camp, pero naunahan na rin ito nung privilege speech niya nga na sinasabing wala raw itong basehan o hindi raw papatunayan niya raw na hindi magpapatuloy o tatayo itong charges laban sa kanya. Pauline.
All right, well, thank you very much for your reporting. That was mobile journalist Marymon Reyes.
Now, still at the upper chamber, the Cayetano siblings took to social media over the weekend to address recent issues in the Senate. In a Facebook video, Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano used the Pokemon trading card game as an analogy for shifts in Senate dynamics. One of the cards he referenced was Chaos Rising, which he said reflected the political tensions and differing views among senators.
Ano yung kalalabas lang kung hindi ako nagkakamali kahapon? Chaos Rising. So actually, ito pinag-uusapan kahit sa Senate, no? Chaos. Chaos is not only brought by bad people who want to destroy something good. It's also brought by bad people who want the status quo not to change, who wants to prevent good people from changing. So am I saying kami good, sila bad? No, what I'm saying, there are 24 senators, there are different political leanings, there are a lot of issues.
Meantime, Senator Pia Cayetano went live on Facebook Friday night amid online criticism and memes over her "wala man lang nangamusta sa amin" remark. She said her intention was to encourage people to check in on each other and, quote, move on from the issue.
Balita ko, trending na daw po ang kamusta ka. Kaya ako magtatanong sa bawat isa sa inyo, kamusta ka? Wala naman ako mapapala na ikasama ng loob ko. So thank you to my colleagues na nag-show ng concern. I love these guys, I do. Pero meron din talagang hindi mo lumapit. Wala talagang balak kung kamustahin. So ganun talaga buhay.
And then there are criticisms of the Cayetano siblings. Katrina Ponce Enrile slammed Senator Pia Cayetano over her emotional "kumusta" statement on the Senate floor. In a statement, the daughter of the late Senator Juan Ponce Enrile said Cayetano's attempt to ease public anger did not appear genuine. Katrina added that some moments call for silence, restraint, and humility rather than explanations. For his part, Cubao Bishop Elias Ayuban Jr. questioned whether Cayetano's conscience had been troubled by the victims of the drug war. He also urged the senator to reflect on her past silence over extrajudicial killings. Meanwhile, Pablo Virgilio Cardinal David called out Senator Alan Peter Cayetano over his remarks, describing the bloody drug war as a human rights and pro-life campaign. David said such statements disregard the victims, including widows and orphans of those killed without due process. He added that public statements seen as justifying or encouraging extrajudicial killings could be viewed under international law as instigation or aiding and abetting crimes against humanity.
You're still watching The Big Story on One News, and coming up, more members are added to the powerful Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, some of whom were tagged in the flood control scandal. The details when we return. Stay tuned. You're watching The Big Story here on One News. The Senate has released more committee lineups after a leadership shakeup that installed Alan Peter Cayetano as Senate President. Senators Jinggoy Estrada and Rodante Marcoleta were named vice chairs of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, the panel leading the chamber's probe into the multi-billion peso flood control controversy. Senator Pia Cayetano is chair of the powerful panel. Recall that both Estrada and Marcoleta have been linked to individuals allegedly connected to irregularities in flood control projects. Escudero, who was also linked to the controversy, was named member of the committee alongside Senators Bongo, Robin Padilla, Amy Marcos, and siblings Camille and Mark Villar.
Marcoleta was likewise appointed vice chairperson of the Senate Energy Committee, with Senators Go, Padilla, Estrada, Marcos, and Joel Villanueva as members. The Finance and National Defense, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation Committees will include all senators except the Senate President and those serving in ex officio capacity. Senators Estrada and Mark Villar were named members of the Youth Committee, while Senator Camille Villar was appointed Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking, alongside members Mark Villar, Padilla, and Villanueva. Finally, under the Ways and Means Committee are Senators Go, Escudero, Estrada, Marcoleta, Marcos, Camille Villar, and Villanueva were also named members.
And as reported earlier, members of the Senate minority refuted Senator Amy Marcos's claim of a planned constitutional assembly, or CONAS. Senator Mig Zubiri immediately asked to strike out Marcos's video presentation from official records. He called it propaganda. Senator Tito Soto seconded the motion and said that while he and House Speaker Boji D are golf mates, they never discussed charter change. Meanwhile, at the lower house, Congressman Antonio Tino questioned Senator Marcos's credibility. But if Cha-Cha moves were true, Tino called it absolutely absurd.
Naniwala na naman kayo kay Amy. Kung totoo man yan at kung itutulak man yan ng administrasyon, kahibangan yun at lalong babagsak ang popularidad ng administrasyon ito. At dapat lang. No? Dahil sinusuka talaga ng taong bayan yung mga politikong nagtutulak ng term extension at no election.
Congressman Egay Erice, on the other hand, says he has heard of plans to tweak the Constitution, particularly to extend terms.
Meron silang kino-cover up na malaking anomalies. So, kung magkakaroon ng bagong presidente, whether it's VP Sara, whether it's VP Lenny, whether it's na hindi kontrolado ng administrasyon na ito, ay malaki ang posibilidad na mapanagot sila.
Well, we now discuss this with Akbayan Party List Congressman Chel Jokno. Good evening, Congressman.
Good evening, Tess. Good evening, everyone. At magandang gabi po sa ating lahat.
So, Kong, narinig mo na ba itong CONAS na plano?
Ay, maraming kumakalat na kwento at balita, Ses. Isa lang yan sa mga nasasagap ko.
So, there is veracity to Senator Amy Marcos's disclosure in her privilege speech?
You know, I have no idea. I've been concentrating on preparing for the impeachment trial. And as far as I'm concerned, whatever actions are taken by any member of the government must be consistent with the Constitution. So kung ano man yung mga kumakalat na ganyan, lalong-lalo na kung sasabihin nilang bagay na pag-extend ng term limits, etc., etc. To me, these are issues that are meant to divert from what we should focus on. It's on accountability of public officers and restoring public trust.
So it could be just merely diversionary from the important matters that you in public office should tackle.
We have been waiting for the impeachment trial for over a year. Iniintay ng sambayan ng Pilipino makita yung ebidensya. Dahil ang concern nila, tulad ng concern namin sa Akbayan at sa buong House ay ano ba ang talagang nangyari at dapat ba may managot? And that is the same concern that we are hearing from our people when we speak of all kinds of government work. Whether you talk about infrastructure, flood control, budget, or even how people in the national government operate.
So it seems that the majority in the Senate has other plans. They keep bringing up extraneous issues like this CONAS, which doesn't appear to have, popular support in the legislature anyway. Unless outside the Colombo kayo, sir, na hindi nyo alam.
Matagal na naman ako outside the Colombo. Basta ako, ang focus ko, yung trabahong ibinigay sa akin. At bilang member ng prosecution panel, ang talagang tinututukan ko ngayon ay yung maayos na pagpepresenta ng ebidensya. Hindi lang sa impeachment court, kundi sa buong Pilipinas.
Sa nangyayari ngayon sa Senado, sa totoo lang, nakikita nyo bang matutuloy ito?
Dapat. this is a constitutional duty, and not only that, it's something that our people have been waiting for a long time. Yung kaya nga nakita nyo naman nung dumaan sa house yan, we really took we were so extra careful in making sure that we went by the book. Everything was accorded the right procedure, and when it went through the plenary, umabot ng 257 votes ang impeachment case. So hindi lang dapat bigyan ng karampatang bigat ng Senado yung pinadala naming mga articles of impeachment.
Okay. Sinabi ni Congresswoman Luistro, lahat sila ay umaasa sa inyo. Kayo ang parang professor nila because, well, many have not been in legal practice for a while. So, ngayon kayo ang second lead sa prosecution panel. Ano po ang strategy? Without revealing, your cards this early.
Just like in court, as a trial lawyer, I never reveal strategies out.
Oops.
Ngayon, no,
But what is the most important thing for you? Okay, wag na po yung strategy.
The most important thing is laying out the evidence without theatrics, without grandstanding, and just putting it out there for people to understand and absorb. Because at the end of the day, an impeachment trial is not just about senators judging members of the House. It's about what happened, what the truth is, and the people will be the judge, bottom line. Kaya yung nangyayari ngayon, yung kung ano-ano mga nakikita natin na parang hindi natin natututukan yung ating impeachment case. For me, let's focus on what's important. And what's important is accountability.
Kong Chel, you amongst the prosecution team, kayo po yung may impeachment experience, doon po kaya former President Erap Estrada. Ngayon, naglalatag kayo ng ebidensya pero marami rin pong kritisismo dito sa mga ebidensya na narinig natin during the House deliberations. Are you fully confident that the Senate will accept everything that was presented in the House deliberations?
Siyempre kasama sa paghahanda namin yan. At na-anticipate din namin yung magiging resistance ng defense at yung maaaring maging reaction ng mga senator judges natin. Pero, at the end of the day, ang talagang maghuhusga dyan kung maayos yung mga pagpapasya nila. Halimbawa, pagtatanggap ng ebidensya, kung maayos yung proseso ng impeachment trial, talaga ang taong bayan yan. I recall during the ERAP impeachment case, the public opinion and public pressure really was what was the main and deciding factor in that case. And even if you look at other impeachment trials, the impeachment trial, for example, of Chief Justice Corona, ganun din yon. When the prosecution enters into any impeachment case, lagi naman dehado yan. Kasi ang kalaban nila ay malaking tao na malakas ang impluwensya. And that's why impeachment really is a procedure designed for top-ranking government officials. Because it's a totally public trial that everyone gets to see.
Which pieces of evidence are you really prepared to fight tooth and nail for na lumabas doon? Kasi yung mga main arguments is the supplemental affidavit of Madriaga on top of yung mga salience daw nung vice mayor pa siya, which the House has said nga is to establish lang naman a pattern, right?
If you go by previous impeachment cases, yung talagang mabigat na ebidensya na nakita ng buong bayan ay yung issues of unexplained wealth, issues ng mga salin, kung ito ba ay dineklara. And and it's just right na yung tinitingnan ng publiko ay yung issues ng accountability. Binigay namin sa inyo yung tiwala bilang lingkod bayan na kayo'y maglilingkod ng malinis at maayos. At gusto namin malaman kung totoo ba yon o hindi.
And Kong Chel, the last time we spoke to Congresswoman Luistro, she told us that all articles of impeachment will be given equal weight. Ang fina-finalize na lamang daw po ay yung order of presentation or which one will be presented first. Have you finalized that already? And why is it so important? Why is the order of presentation important here in this trial?
Naku, ayokong bigyan ng, ayoko ipakita yung barahan namin sa defense. At sabihin na lang natin, we are exerting 100% effort to bring out the best case we can. Now, how that will be, kung ano yung uunahin namin, etc., etc., intayin natin na lang yung mismong trial.
Kong, what about the private prosecutors? Na-finalize na po ba sila?
Inaayos pa namin ang buong listahan ng mga private prosecutors. You know, it's not an easy job to choose private prosecutors. We have to make sure they are unassailable in terms of integrity, and we have to make sure na talagang mga batikang abogado to na marunong humawak ng kaso o marunong magpresenta ng testigo, sanay sa loob ng korte, kahit anong gawin ng kalaban ay hindi sila magigiba, buo ang loob. Yun ang mga hinahanap namin na private prosecutors.
Congressman, paano po lalabanan ang disinformation? Earlier, we saw on the Senate floor a huge argument over what some senators claimed was propaganda.
Napakalaking hamon yan. Whether you speak of impeachment or other big issues our country is facing, that's always been a problem. And for us, aside from the work that we must do inside the Senate impeachment court, that is also a matter that we have to address. We can anticipate that habang lumalapit ang impeachment trial at habang nililitis mismo ang kaso, naku, talagang magrarampa yan. It's going to reach a peak that I don't think we've experienced probably since the elections. And
So do you have a team that's going na ito lang ang tututukan? Kasi maaring yung sinasabi nyo ay matwist na kabaligtaran or you know how disinformation is working nowadays on social media and it can go viral very quickly.
Sabihin ko na lang, Ses, na handang-handa kami dyan dahil hindi naman bago itong mga taktika na ginagamit. At this has been tried before. We know what we are up against and we will fight it tooth and nail.
Now, I'd like to ask you, Congressman, the Supreme Court just released its decision on the denial of the TRO on the case of Senator Bato. Have you read it? Because we'd like to...
I'm sorry, hindi ko pa siya nababasa. Sobrang tutok ko sa impeachment case.
Sayang, kasi gusto namin sanang marinig ang inyong opinion ukol dito. But just the same on... baka pwede rin po ba ang inyong thoughts kung itong anti-dynasty bill ay may pag-asa pang maipasa?
If you're talking, well, ganito ang
Another
situation.
important piece of legislation, and I'm sure ano rin kayo dito, ito'y gusto rin yung maipatupad.
Sabihin na lang natin, nabibiyak ang puso ko pagdating sa anti-political dynasty bill. I'm sure aware kayo yung isinusulong namin sa akbayan ay isang napakalawak na anti-political dynasty bill. Sa paniwala namin ay wawakasan na ang issue ng ng mga political dynasty. Kaya lang yung naipush na version sa House ay para sa amin ay napaka-diluted na form ng anti-political dynasty that it actually legitimizes political dynasties. Kung maalala ninyo, yung ngayon na nasa plenaryo ng House na political dynasty bill, ay gumawa sila ng iba't ibang level ng ating pamahalaan. And for each level, according to the bill, that's where dynasties are prohibited. So halimbawa sa national level, bawal ang magkakapatid, let's say sa Senado. Pero pwede pa rin mangyari ang isang political dynasty sa iba't ibang antas ng ating pamahalaan. So you could have one member of a family in the Senate, one in one or more in Congress, one as a governor or a mayor, and so on down the line. So, ang magiging resulta niyan ay hindi mabibiyak ang mga political dynasty.
Okay, so you're clearly not 100% satisfied with that, no? But as a Deputy Speaker, Janet Garin always says, you have to find something na papayag na lahat ng tao or a compromise. So in your opinion, Kong Shell, is this a satisfactory kind of political dynasty bill?
Nabibiyak nga ang puso niya.
Kahit nabibiyak yung puso, kaya naman bang sikmurahin kahit paano?
Or what's an acceptable compromise ko?
Well, matagal na natin kasi iniintay ito. Pero kung titingnan kasi natin yung version ng Senate, lalong-lalo na yung pinupush ni Akbayan Senator Risa Ontiveros, although it also applies to second degree of affinity or consanguinity, hindi nila hinati sa 4 na level ang pamahalaan. So that in that respect, that is a much better version than the House version. And if the House version passes the House, which is already there sa plenary, they will have to contend, and I hope that they also respect the other side of the coin. At sana ang ma-push ay yung nakikita natin na mas maayos na version.
Well, she's now in the minority, so...
Yes, I would say.
Okay. So, patuloy na mabibiyak ang inyong puso.
Basta tuloy ang laban, Ses.
Yeah. Marami pong salamat. Tuloy nga ang laban. Akbayan Party List Congressman Chel Joc.
And we are pausing for another breather, but right after that, there is a new labor secretary and there are rumors of more reshuffles in the Marcos cabinet. That and more stories are still ahead. Keep it here on the news.
The Big Story is back with updates on the collapsed building in Angeles City, Pampanga. 4 have been found dead, while more than a dozen are still missing. The search also uncovered safety violations committed by the contractor Golden Years Construction. News 5's Mon Gualvez with the report.
This dashcam video shows the situation at Oak Street, Barangay Balibago in Angeles City, Pampanga at dawn Sunday, May 24th. At around 3 a.m., this building under construction suddenly gave way. Electric posts sparked, all the lights went out, and dust enveloped the area. The building under construction was for a 9-story hotel. But more than saving what's left of the structure, it's people inside that concerned rescuers. Search operations were immediately carried out, but with much caution. Bureau of Fire Protection personnel carefully cut through iron and steel for victims trapped. Until Monday, March 25, rescuers were searching for victims under the rubble. One person pulled out suddenly lost consciousness. Medical team on standby tried to revive him. He eventually died. 2 more bodies were recovered by rescuers. One from an exit point in the building. Nearby structures were also not spared. In a neighboring building, a Malaysian national also died. But rescuers are not losing hope of finding more survivors just yet. They are continuously scanning for heartbeat or body heat, while K9 units make rounds. The MMDA also pitched in their life protector machines. All these while anxious skin of the missing weight. And for now, that's all they can do, wait.
Parang lalong mabigat yung pakaramdam ko na titingin ko talaga ako na lang sa panahon ngayon. Kasi oras na yan, siguro wala nang buhay. 24 hours na sila dyan, hindi pa kumakain. Kahit siguro tubig, wala. Kung nagtutulong-tulong po sila, hindi yung iba karamihan naglalakad lang, nakahiga, nakatambay kung saan nagsiselfon. Siguro po mapapabilis yung kilos na makapag-rescue sila ng buhay doon.
Hindi naman tayo pwedeng pumasok basta-basta, hindi naman tayo pwedeng magtanggal ng mga debris kasi siyempre yung structural integrity natin, alam natin na compensate na po. At anytime pwedeng mag-collapse po ang humahawak po sa kanila. Alam po natin mga scaffoldings lang ang humahawak sa mga debris pong ito.
Amid the agonizing wait for more survivors, there are reports that the construction had already gone beyond 9 stories, with a roof deck and a swimming pool being set up at the top of the building before the tragedy.
Mismo binanggit po sa akin ng asawa ko. Kaya ang sabi niya sa akin, matatagalan daw siya dyan. Kasi 12 floor nga daw po yan. Ang ginagawa niya daw ngayon, nasa 9 floor na daw po siya.
This is now part of the investigation by local authorities against the contractor, Golden Years Construction and Steelworks Corporation.
So dun po sa design nila, sa yung chinek po namin, kasi ang permit po nila lumabas sa 2023. Wala naman po nakasaad na swimming pool.
As of today, Monday, May 25, Golden Years Construction and Steelworks Corporation has not yet released an official public statement regarding the collapse in Barangay Balibago, Angeles City. According to the Labor Department in Central Luzon, they had actually issued a work stoppage order against Golden Years Construction back in September 2025. Dole Region 3 Director Geraldine Panlilio cited multiple work safety violations, including failure to provide personal protective equipment, hard hats, safety boots, lifelines, and safety belts. There were also notable deficiencies in the site's scaffolding and electrical systems. Dole noted that their inspectors were initially denied entry to the site by the contractor, forcing them to issue the closure order based on plain view inspection. The company complied with the required corrections about a month later, which prompted Dole to lift the stoppage order. However, Dole noted that only 9 workers were officially listed in the company's construction safety program.
Sa plain view nakita ng aming mga labor inspectors na yung work na ginagawa doon at yung working condition medyo hindi safe for the workers. Yun nga, na-discover namin na maraming gaps or deficiencies sa pag-comply niya sa provisions of the Occupation Safety and Health Standards. And we can say during that time na talagang there is poor working condition.
For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
Here are the other stories making headlines this Monday. Water levels at Angat Dam continue to decline due to hot weather and limited rainfall. As of 8 a.m. today, Pag-asa recorded the dam's level at 175.24 meters above sea level, well below the normal 210-meter level. Authorities said the decline could continue through June as El Nino conditions persist, though household water supply remains stable for now.
Meantime, the social development arm of the CBCP has condemned the cutting of decades-old trees along Quirino Avenue, calling it an act of ecological violence. Caritas Philippines President Bishop Gerardo Alminaza urged authorities and contractors to immediately stop the tree cutting and review the project through what he called ecological justice. Alminaza added development should not come at the expense of people and the environment. And in another development, President Bongbong Marcos is set to leave for Japan tomorrow for a 4-day state visit. This will be his first official state visit to the country since assuming office, as the Philippines and Japan mark 70 years of diplomatic relations. Foreign Affairs spokesperson Annalyn Ratonel said the visit will focus on further strengthening cooperation between the two countries.
Inaasahang mag-aanunsyo ang dalawang bansa ng mga bagong kasunduan sa defense, trade and investment at human resources. Nakaschedule din ng Pangulo to meet with Japanese business groups and members of the Filipino community in Japan.
And President Bongbong Marcos has appointed former Senator Francis Tolentino as acting Labor Secretary. Tolentino will replace Bienvenido Laguesma, who stepped down due to health reasons. Malacanang did not say if Laguesma will be given a new government role.
All right, before we say goodbye, take a look at a new destination down south. This space in Lapu-Lapu City is drawing attention for offering both convenience and experience. More from mobile journalist Daniel Dayao.
From beaches to historical sites, Lapu-Lapu has long been a go-to destination. But some visitors are also spotting modern townships, and we're here to see why.
This is the Mactan New Town, a township in Lapu-Lapu City connecting beaches, historical landmarks, and urban life. So for some locals, it's become a place to slow down from day to night.
I work around Mactan New Town, so I regularly go here. So it's a good place to be. It's very simple, but it's nice enough for you to enjoy yourself. Very convenient in a lot of ways.
We prefer to be here than IT Park because it's less crowded and the cafes are near.
The people just walking, there are also like streets out there, you can just jog everywhere. Yeah, actually I can compare this to BGC as well.
While for visitors, the experience goes beyond location, with convenience and interactions also shaping their stay.
I'm surprised for some place so close to the airport, how you still have such clean water, a swimmable beach, yes, options to eat, friendly people. I've always loved my interactions with Filipinos.
And despite higher travel costs, some say experiences are still worth it, especially when it means exploring new places.
Kasi bukod sa marami siyang tourist spot destination, yung iba-ibang experience din na ma-encounter mo. Given na kasi yung pagtaas talaga eh. Pero kung gusto mo kasi, yung travel kasi minsan lang dumating sa buhay natin yan eh. Kaya as long as kaya pa, go travel and travel.
For now, local tourism officials say the tourism in the city starts to grow, with the township's accessibility among the factors in drawing more visitors.
There's more beyond Lapu-Lapu. We have here the Mactan Shrine, adjacent to the Cebu Mactan New Town. To be honest, after the ASEAN Summit, a lot of inquiries are coming. It's all here kasi eh.
Whether it's for the history, beaches, or simply a break from routine. Some tourists say what makes a trip worth it is the chance to experience different areas of the town in a single visit. Kapatid Mobile Journal, Daniel Dayao, we are One News.
That will do it for us here on The Big Story this Monday. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.
I think we're followed by a new show.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Of our resident, heckler.
Oh, with a lovely
With
grandma.
Yes, I think it's today. Or am I? Anyway,
Is it
if
today?
it is, congrats.
If it's not, abangan.
Abangan.
Correct. Kapatid, we are One News all sides, all the time. Have a good night.